Do you want to get faster? Do you want to jump higher and actually look explosive? Forget power cleans, forget weighted jump, and even forget most plyometrics. Nothing, and I mean nothing, builds speed and athleticism like sprinting does. And let me explain why. A lot of athletes think speed equals the weight room, plus power lifts, weighted jumps, cleans, speed squats, depth jumps. Sure, these can help, but they don't nearly move the needle as much as sprinting. The problem is all of these things miss one key component that is a key driver behind making you fast and explosive, and that's short ground contact times. Elite sprinters hit ground contact times of 80 to 120 milliseconds. Average athletes 120 milliseconds to 180 milliseconds. So if you want to find out why your vertical is stuck, it's actually a free jump profile quiz linked down below. We can just go through it, answer 7 questions, and it's going to tell you exactly what you need to work on as an athlete and develop, so then you can know exactly why your vertical is stuck and give you a clear path and roadmap to what you need to change and fix. Now, is this 100% accurate? No, it's just 7 questions, but it's going to give you a really good estimation, an idea of what you need to work on without needing any sort of force plates or expensive sports science gear. Anyways, back to the video. Things like Olympic lifts, jump squats, even some plyometrics, they're 2 to 3 times slower. Some plyometrics do get closer, but they're not hitting the same thresholds. So maybe some pogo jumps, some depth jumps focusing on a quick ground contact time, maybe some single leg bounding can get somewhat close to what sprinting is, but not as close. It's not on the same level. You also experience forces of 4 to 5 times the body weight when you're sprinting on a single leg. When you're sprinting, the rate of force development and time to peak force is unmatched as well in comparison to anything else. It's literally conditioning your nervous system to recruit force faster. And this is key because when you go to jump, whether it's a 1-foot jump or 2-foot jump, it can be anywhere from 200 milliseconds in terms of ground contact time all the way up to 450 milliseconds in terms of ground contact time. So it happens quickly. So it's not all about how much force you produce, but how much force you can produce within that relative time frame. And that's why sprinting is so important, because it improves your ability to do just that, especially when you combine it with strength training. And I can tell you from experience, athletes that sprint regularly tend to jump higher, cut sharper, and stay springier. For example, back in 2021 to 2022, I was training a competitive sprinter, and he hadn't done any formal jump training or anything in the realm of jump training, but he had been training for strength and power and sprinting for most of his life. So one day I invited him down to the basketball courts to come dunk with the group of guys I was dunking with, and seeing him jump for the first time was quite unbelievable. His technique wasn't that good, to be honest, because he hadn't practiced jumping too much, but he was still the second highest jumper there apart from Tom, who jumps 48 inches, and this sprinter was definitely jumping in the 40s. He would literally run up, plant, and it would look like he was floating up. It was quite insane. If anyone's ever played the video game Halo, it looked like that. And it was simply just because of how fast he produced force and how elastic he was just from all the sprinting he had done in his life. For myself, I've had similar experiences. So when I'm pushing sprinting the most, especially at higher velocities and training more the top end speed side of things, nothing gets me more elastic than that. And that's when my jumps feel the most effortless. Over the years, I've done some experimentation. I've gone through periods where I haven't sprinted. I've just done plyometrics, and they never quite hit the same. Sure, I got some results, but I lack that extra gear. I lack that extra quote unquote spring that I otherwise would have if I was sprinting consistently. And that's coming from a guy that's not naturally explosive, that's slower. And to be honest, I had pretty bad genetics, so I relied heavily on sprinting to get more explosive. And I would love to say, hey, this plyometric is just as good, or this exercise is just as good. But over 7 years of training, or longer to be honest, 7, 8 years of training, I haven't found a single exercise that's as potent or as effective for myself and for my athletes, especially the slower guys. As soon as I get them sprinting and doing it consistently, at least twice a week, so that's a huge key, guys. That's, I would say, the sweet spot for sprinting twice a week. Their speed just went through the roof. And if you stack this with jumping and strength work at the same time, it's quite a recipe to become an athletic monster. So if you're new to sprinting, definitely start out with shorter distances because it can be quite intense. You don't want to flare up anything or hurt yourself. So start out with shorter distances, anywhere from like 3 to 7 sets. Build up slowly over time and watch yourself get faster. I will say though, because sprinting's so potent, because it's so stimulating on the nervous system, it can cook you a little bit, especially if you overdo it too quickly. So that's where you can see a temporary performance decrease if you're doing this. But if you manage your training properly and you deload and everything like that, you should see a huge boost in how fast you are and how explosive you feel. So stop sleeping on sprint training. If you want to run faster, jump higher, and actually look athletic, sprinting needs to be in the cornerstone of your program.